Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble the 16-inch MacBook Pro M3 Max or M3 Pro. Alright, so this is a model the model number is really small, it's right here, A2991. Alright, so first thing we're going to be doing is using the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 to remove all the screws from the bottom. Alright, there's 4 here and then 4 down here, so let's go ahead and undo those. You do want to keep them in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. Alright, if this video helps you out, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. Other than that, let's go ahead and continue removing these screws. It looks like the screws at the front where the opening of the screen is are shorter. So keep that in mind if you mix up the screws somehow. Alright, this is my first time opening up this model, so yeah. I think the customer said it's less than a year old, so we'll see. Alright, they spilled some coffee on it, so we're going to try and take it apart down as far as we can to try and remove any liquid or residue that might be in there. They did try and dry it up a bit, so we'll see. Alright, if it's like the previous models, we're first going to start from the opening portion here where the screen opens up, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to get in where this vent is, lift this up, and you can see the covers coming up. I'm going to get my fingers in there, and I'm going to work my way down the side, push with my finger here. Okay, I push with my thumb and pulled up with my fingers here. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, so get my fingers in there, push down with my thumb here, and pull up with my other fingers. Try and get as close as you can inside as you can. Okay, as you can see, the back where the hinges are is still hooked down. Usually that's because there's little hooks that kind of hook into the air vents. So what we do is, now that we pop those clips, we're going to grab this. All right, got my fingers in there, pulling on the cover, and I'm going to pull it straight down. I'm also going to push on my finger here, and you can see it slid down. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Grab over here, slide it, and there we go. All right, so we got the bottom cover off. It doesn't appear to have any thing here. There was a tiny like little speck of something on this. They said it was coffee without any sugar, so hopefully it won't be anything too serious here. Okay, obviously first thing we're going to want to do after opening this up is to disconnect the battery. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, but this will be a screenshot. Alright, let's zoom in here. So we got the battery, or at least I think that's a touchpad connector. The battery connector is probably underneath there. But it looks like we're going to have to remove this first. So Apple likes to use T5, T3, and T4. So let's see which one this is. It looks smaller than a T5, yep, and it is. So let's try a T4 next. Smaller than that, so let's go with T3. Alright, so we're using a T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver to remove these screws. You do want to be careful, make sure the bits hold in tight. You don't want to try and like use a loose wobbly bit, because then you can strip these screws. So you want to be very careful, alright? So we're going to remove these 2 screws. Again, you want to keep all the screws in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. Once you do that, you can remove this metal plate and set that aside. Right, now that we've done that, we got this thing here. I'm going to use my fingernail, but you can use like plastic pry tools, and I'm just going to pop it up just like this. And here we can see the battery connection. All right, so like the old models, there's a thin little ribbon cable for a portion of it, and then the metal tab for the other. So we're going to go ahead and lift this up. Okay, so I'm just using my fingernail. We're going to peel that away. Okay. All right, so now that we've peeled that up, we're going to flip this. There's a little plastic latch on the front of this. So we flip that latch up. Okay, now that we flip that latch up, we should be able to remove this cable. You want to be very careful because these cables are kind of fragile. One thing you can do to make it a little bit easier is you can get a thin tool like this to get underneath. And then once you're underneath, you can use your finger to press on top and help wiggle and pull that back. All right, if it doesn't come out, then it's going to be somewhat of a pain. We might have to use something to remove some adhesive here. Is there adhesive here as well? No? Okay, there's adhesive holding it onto that screw though. But okay, let's go ahead and try again. There we go. All right, so there we go. We got that portion of the battery connector out. Now we're gonna get this one out as well. So I'm gonna carefully try and pull it this way as I kind of peel it up. Okay, there we go. And it came out relatively easily. So let's see what kind of screw this uses. On the old models, it was a T5. This looks like it might also be a T5. So let's switch back over to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver bit. And let's unscrew that. All right. All right, there we go. We got that screw out. We'll set that aside as well. And then usually what you want to do is we'll lift this metal tab up just slightly so it's no longer resting down on there. Okay, and then to be safe, we're going to carefully open up the MacBook and we're going to press and hold the power button here. All right. Usually I'll hold this for about 10 to 15 seconds. You can hold it for like 30 seconds to be extra safe. All right. But usually about 15 seconds should be plenty. Hold it a few more seconds and then we should be good to go. All right. All right, so there we go. What else do we need to remove here? We got the touchpad, the trackpad. Looks very commonly assembled like the old models. Let's go ahead and carefully see if we can peel this up. You want to be very careful. As you can see, I'm pushing this down, this plastic tab here, and we're carefully pulling this up. You want to be careful. I'm going to keep my finger here, over here, holding down this touchpad cable so it doesn't just suddenly peel the adhesive away and rip up. And at the same time, again, holding that down. So there we go. That's the touchpad cable. All right, let's go ahead and undo the screws for the touchpad here. It looks like there's a pair here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we'll remove all 13 of these screws. And then we're going to go ahead and pull the touchpad out. Okay, so again, keep all these screws in order. There's very likely no liquid damage on this touchpad, but I figured we might as well check. The customer told me they dried it the best they could, and then they tried to blow the extra liquid away. But you actually don't want to blow liquid if it's wet. You don't want to blow air into it. You actually want to suction the air out. If you have a vacuum, it's best after you dry it the best you can is to use a vacuum and then pull the moisture out. You don't want to push the air deeper into the computer. All right, so let's go ahead and continue removing these screws. Okay. All right. And the last side ones. These screws do appear to look about the same. Maybe these three are a little bit longer. So again, you don't want to mix up the screws because if you do, you can damage your computer if you put the wrong ones in the wrong place. I've seen some where customers sent it into like warranty repairs and they would use too long of a screw in the wrong spot and it would actually make like a dimple into the case of their computer because it's pushing through on the other side. And that's somewhat of a least like damaging situation. In some cases, it can actually damage some circuits and things, so you want to be very careful. All right, we're going to carefully open the MacBook while it's still face down like this, and you don't want to flip it over. I'll show you why once I can get this out. All right, now that we got the touchpad cable out, you can see on the bottom of the touchpad, they have these little metal washers, these kind of like ovalish ones, and then these circles. And I don't think these really serve any purpose other than if you accidentally flip them over and lose them all, then Apple will know that you took this out. I don't think it really does much else than that. Maybe it acts as a tiny bit of a spacer, but not really. All right. So I don't know if you saw on the bottom, there's no sign of any liquid or anything in here. So yeah, there's not really any need to take this out. Also, if you damage this cable, you can switch it out by flipping this latch and pulling that out. I don't want to mess around with it. There are a lot of little components here. Okay, you don't want to accidentally nick those. So I'm just going to set this aside. Usually if you're going to replace the battery, you'd want to remove that as well. Looks like there's 2 more screws here. If you wanted to remove the battery, I'm not going to take the battery out because the battery has adhesive underneath that isn't reusable. And if you damage that adhesive, then pretty much, yeah, you can't put the battery back in the same way. It's not going to stick down anymore. It's going to wobble all over the place. And for sure, Apple's going to say something about it. All right, so let's go ahead and continue removing some more components. So I'll zoom out a bit and hopefully you'll be able to get an idea of what's in here because there's a whole bunch of little things we're going to have to remove. Most likely all the ones with these little metal caps are going to be T3s, and then these ones for the fans are most likely T8s if they follow how the old MacBooks used to do it. Looks like these ones to the motherboard are T5, so, and then these are probably T3s as well. Yeah. Okay, so the Logicboard ones definitely all seem to be T5s, which is nice because at least they're being consistent this time. All right, so let's go ahead and start removing screws. So I'm gonna go ahead and start removing the touchpad ones first, or not the touchpad, sorry, the motherboard ones first. Ooh, what is this? Okay. Let's go ahead and start removing these screws. Some bug or something fell down from the sky. All right, so we'll get these motherboard screws out. We got one there. Okay, it looks like they have these little rubber things. Hopefully they're not covering any screws or anything. It doesn't look like it. Okay, so there's a second one here. Third one here. Alright, then we got another 2 here. Okay, and then we got another one here. So I like how the motherboard screws on this model are pretty symmetrical. Alright, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 going across the top, then there's these 2, and then at the bottom it has the 2 pairs of screws there, so 4 more. Okay, so pretty nice and symmetrical. I like that. Easy to figure out. The screws appear to be about the same size. The ones down here appear to be a tiny bit longer. So again, you don't want to mix up your screws. A lot of people like to just throw them into like little containers. I don't like that method because then you mix them all up, you don't know where they came from, and you end up putting the wrong screws in the wrong places. Okay, now that we got those T5 screws out, let's go ahead and get the T8-bit or Torx 8-bit. We'll remove this screw. Is it a T8? Actually, maybe it's not. Might have shrunk it down. Is this a T7? Huh. T6? Interesting. So they decided to use T6 screws here. That's new. Normally they stick with T8s for these, but this is a T6. Okay, so make sure you use the right size. If you use a T5, you might damage your screwdriver bit, or you might even damage the screws. So you want to be very careful. Make sure to check you use the right size screwdriver bit. And that's why I always tell people not to just go based off of what people say, like what size screw to use. You don't want to just follow something like that. You do want to use what fits best. Okay? All right, we got some more screws up here. Let's see, are we going to take all of this out? These use some tiny screws here. Okay, so we got some T5 screws here holding these little hinge covers. So we're going to get those out as well. Okay, 2 screws holding that. We'll remove this. Alright, and I'm going to use this to help pull this forward a little and then see if we can get this out. This metal plate for the hinge cover is a little tricky. It doesn't come out easily. Am I missing something here? Do I got to remove something else first? Let's go ahead and remove this one as well. those 4 screws out. I think some screws here might be holding it. Maybe this bar is holding it in place. Let's see if we can remove that as well. Wow, that's a long screw. Okay. So I'll take that out, I'll take this out. There we go. Alright. So I don't think that's going to help with getting this out, but let's try. Again, we're probably going to need a tool or something to help get this up. Yeah, no, it's hitting this bar. So we got to figure out how to get that out. Okay. So these seem to be a little tricky. Are these also T5 or T6? Let's make sure. I don't want to use the wrong bit. Yeah, okay, those are T5s. So let's go ahead and remove these. Do I need to remove those? I don't know. And these are different as well. So these are T3s, and then the ones above are T5s. So let's go ahead and remove these first. Okay, again, I'm trying to keep all the screws organized. Don't want to mix them up because then that can cause issues. Alright, so we got those out. Let's see, do these metal plates come out? Those seem to be attached there. Okay, what do we got out? What else do we got here? Let's switch over to the T3 or Torx 3 and see about removing these. Okay, and these screws have like a really thick top. Interesting. Right, let's see, can we get these off? So here we can peel these metal plates off, okay? And we'll set these aside. Alright, so now that we got those metal plates off, you can see there's actually little connectors under here, and those will disconnect just like the others that get your fingernail under, or a plastic pry tool, and just flip them up, just like that. Alright, this one has 2, so flip that up and that up. Okay, so we got both those out. These tiny screws appear to be P2 or pentalobe 0.8 screws. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove those. There's 9 of them. Let me zoom out more. I guess we'll zoom out more. Okay, so we'll get these 3. Yep, so these are P2 or pentalobe 0.8 screws. I'm gonna remove all of those. So a lot of screws. So keep track if you're planning to do like a screen repair or something. These are separate, that you don't need to remove the motherboard screws. You do need to disconnect the battery and do the power, hold down the power button 15 seconds. But the motherboard screws and stuff, you don't need to remove those to remove this screen. So if your main goal is just removing the screen on this model, then this is how you do it. One thing to keep in mind though, Apple does put this security stuff, so I'm not sure whether you can replace the screens on these. Sometimes you can get another replacement screen, even like exact model from Apple, like genuine everything, and it'll have issues because Apple pairs them to the processors and things like that. And I think the reason one of the reasons they do that is so that less people steal these devices, because when they're stolen, parts won't be reusable. So that's part of why they do it, but then it makes it annoying because whenever you need to repair anything, it ends up your computer becomes garbage. Yeah, I don't know if Apple has ways they can do it differently, but definitely if you try and fix it yourself, then it ends up becoming trash. All right, let's go ahead and see here. Can we pop this out now? So we got this. You can see this is kind of lifting. We are going to have to remove that as well. So let's switch back to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver and remove these screws. Okay, it's a lot of screws to remember. Okay, again, I put them all in the pattern. I remove them on my desk. That's how I can know where they are and put them back. I highly recommend you do the same. Okay, again, I don't recommend putting them all into like little containers. Some people like to put them in like ice trays or whatever. I wouldn't do that. All right, so there we go. We got those out. We'll take this little metal tab out as well. We'll set this aside. Maybe I'll show like the pile or all the screws once I'm kind of done with this. And then you can see, let me move some stuff out of the way here real quick. Okay. All right, so let's see here. We got those out. Here you can see the wireless antennas. So to remove the antennas, you go from the tails here. I like to go as close to the tail as I can, the connector, and then I just pull straight up, okay? Just like that on all three. Obviously, you can use a little plastic pry tool as well. I just use my fingernails, okay? So just like that, now we got all those antennas disconnected. Let's zoom out here. It looks like the antenna board is kind of wiggling and ready to come out. So here you can see, we can now pull this out. All right, and there's the antennas. So if for some reason your wireless connection or Bluetooth is having issues, there's a small chance it could be this board. It's very rare for this thing to break. So I don't know, it's more like if you took it out wrong and then damaged it that you'd need to replace that. I don't think you'd ever need to replace it from it failing. Okay, so there we go. Let me set this down. All right, what do we got next here? So now these the screen cables hopefully will come out. Let's see here. You can see I can pull that up and this is kind of coming out. It looks like there's other stuff under here, so you gotta be careful. Okay, so this piece all comes up. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So we get under there and we're gonna carefully pull this cable upwards and there we go. All right, you can see this excess cabling goes underneath this, whatever this piece is. I don't know if this comes out. It feels like it might fall. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this does come out. All right, so you can take this out and it has two little spiky peg things that go down into the holes there. So there's some holes down there. I'll show a close-up of the next one that I remove, but we'll set that aside for now. Okay, let me zoom in here and then show you this one. All right, so we got this cable out of the way and we got this piece and we're gonna kind of grab it and just pull straight up, and there you go. You can see the two little pegs that go into those two holes down there. All right, that's what it looks like. Okay, so now we got that. What is this little plastic piece? Oh, that's garbage. Okay. All right, so let's zoom out here. What else do we got? Can we remove this now? Hopefully it should be easy to remove now. You can use the screwdriver to help kind of push it forward, and then you can grab these out. Yep, they come out easily. These are just hinge screw covers. They help keep the hinge screws from kind of just loosening and coming out. Same thing with this side. All right, lift slightly and then just use a screwdriver or something to help pull it forward, and there we go. All right, so let's see, what do we got next? There's a whole bunch of other screws here, but give me a second because I am getting some messages and calls and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and continue removing these cables. So we're still using the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver, and let's go ahead and remove these. Again, it's a lot of screws, so hopefully you guys are able to keep track. I don't know what, sorry, I keep skipping all over the place. We could actually just remove the screen first. Let's remove this cable and then I'll show you the screen. I'm gonna disconnect this cable, which I'm pretty sure is like the power button or something. Let's go ahead and pop that up. Let me see if I can see on the other side. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's for the power button and the Touch ID or fingerprint reader. All right, let's go ahead now and remove the screen. So what you want to do, we do actually have to remove this one cable here. So we're going to remove this. Okay. And remove the metal plate. Be very careful with it. There are components underneath that you don't want to damage. See that? Okay, again, we're going to pop that up. I just use my fingernail. that up out of the way. All right, and then we're gonna carefully open this. I think I do need to remove this one little piece here. But this one always ends up having some issues, so let's see. We'll try again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, actually, okay, this one's nice. I think they're using the regular P2 or pentalobe 0.8. So let's go ahead and remove that. Yep. Okay, that's nice. On some of the models, they use like a Torx T2 or something, and then that ends up being like too fragile and breaking. So it's good. I think maybe they learned their lesson. Probably too many of those screws got stripped, so they switched back over to this P2 or pentalobe. All right, so we're gonna get that piece and set that aside. If you do break this, your screen is gonna be forever in sleep mode, so hopefully you don't break that little piece. All right, let's go ahead and zoom out here. And the way I fix or remove the screen here is I open the screen all the way, okay, as far as it goes. Then I flip it over, rest the palm rest on the edge of my desk, just like this. Let me see if I can fix this real quick so it's more straight. Okay, sorry, I was straightening out the camera a little bit. Okay, and then these are usually going to be T8. Let's see if they changed it, because they do look more rounded than normal. So let's see here. T8, T9. Looks like a T9 actually fits in there. So we're gonna use a T9. Let me actually check with a T10 real quick, just to be safe. Nope. Okay, so they changed this. They use a T9 now. Okay, you could possibly get away with using a T8, but again, I would highly recommend using the correct bit size, because you don't want to round off the edges of your screwdriver or the screws and then end up stuck with it. Right, so we're going to undo all 6 screws here, 3 on each side. Okay, and if you're wondering what you need to remove the screen, so if your main thing is just replacing the screen, first thing, disconnect the battery here, the tab, and this little cable. Open the MacBook, press and hold the power button at least 15 seconds. Then you got to remove these pieces and the wireless antenna bar so you can lift that out. Then you remove the hinge screw covers, remove those little hinge screw covers, and then you got the little cable there for the sleep sensor. I don't know what you call that, I forgot what it was called, but the thing that detects when the screen's open and closed to know when it should turn off the screen and put it to sleep. And then after that, you just got these 6 screws here, okay? And that's all you need to remove the screen. It's not terrible. It is worse than some of the models, but it's not crazy. All right. And the last screw here. You want to be careful removing the last screw. I'm going to hold the screen up. It's over the edge of my desk, but I'm holding it up right now as I undo the screw, because when I let go now, you can see the hinge is kind of like just floating up. All right, so once you get all the screws out, you can let the screen fall naturally, and then you should be able to just lift the whole thing out. If it doesn't come out, you might have to kind of wiggle it a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom out a tiny bit here. All right, so you might have to wiggle it a little bit to get this to come up, out past this area here. Let's see. There we go. And here is the screen assembly. So I don't know of a way to replace just the LCD or whatever you want to call that, the screen panel. For me, I think it's a lot more cost effective to replace the whole screen assembly. But yeah, let me put this somewhere safe and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and continue removing the entire board here. We want to make sure we get everything out. So we're going to switch back over now to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. All right. And we're going to continue removing these little pieces. Let me zoom in a little bit more now, since we don't need to be so far zoomed out again. All right. I'll zoom in where I can, but then I have to zoom back out after. But let's go ahead and get these. Okay. One there, this one here. Okay, this is for one of the USB-C ports. And then we'll remove the metal plate. You can see it has this big spongy piece on top. Okay, so make sure not to put these things upside down. All right, we're gonna disconnect this just like that, and we're just gonna flip it up. We're not gonna actually take the whole thing out. There is a screw there. I'm not sure if that allows you to pull the whole USB-C port out. It probably will, but you'll probably still have to take the entire logic board out to do that. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get these out now. I'm gonna slowly run out of room on my desk to be moving the MacBook around, so I am gonna probably do less close-up shots once it gets to that point. All right, once we got those two screws, we can remove this metal plate, and then we can flip this latch up. It looks like underneath here they do have a special bolt there holding that thing in place, so let's see what size that is. Seems to be a 4.0. Let me see if I try a smaller. Nope. Okay, so there's a 4.0, I don't know what you would call this, nut, bolt, whatever this thing is, right, hex. All right, so we're gonna remove that. And the other screw goes into this screw, so there you go, we got that piece out. We're gonna set that aside with the other one. That has the thing that the cover clips onto, so if you don't get those on, then the cover is not gonna clip in the center anymore, so make sure that you get those back on properly. Okay, hopefully the fans, actually I think the fans are attached on the bottom, so we are gonna have to peel this rubber piece off. Oh, it's not even held with adhesive, that's good. Okay, so we are gonna detach the connector here just in case. So peel up this, we're gonna peel back the adhesive, and then we're gonna flip the latch back, and then same thing, get underneath here. It seems like there is adhesive under there, so in this case we're gonna use a tiny bit of isopropyl alcohol. I have this little syringe bottle. You can use any little syringe that can get some liquid under, and we just put a tiny bit there. Okay, and we're gonna just get underneath here with a little thin tool. You can use your fingernails as well for this, but this will probably work a little better. You can see we're trying to slowly, carefully peel this up. It's being a pain here. You gotta go slow, okay? Let the isopropyl alcohol do its work, and there we go. All right, so now that we got that, we're gonna pull this back, and there we go. All right, and then we're just gonna fold this out of the way. You can actually see where the adhesive was. If you want, you can kind of clean that residue out a little bit. Okay, if you really want to clean it off, you can use like a little paper towel. Let me get a little piece and then clean that off a little, just so it doesn't have the goopy residue on the board itself. All right, so I'll just get a little piece of paper towel, get a little isopropyl alcohol on it, and then we'll just rub that to clean it. There we go. All right, so we got that. Now we're gonna go ahead and go over to this side, and we're gonna carefully disconnect. I'm pretty sure this is the keyboard connector here. Okay. Carefully peel that back, and then we'll flip this latch up, same thing. Once you flip that latch up, you can go ahead and wiggle and pull that back. All right, you got another little connector here. I'm not 100% sure what that one's for. We're gonna flip that up and pull that out. It could be for the keyboard backlight. Right, so we got those two out. And then we got the other fan connector over here. We're gonna same thing, peel that back, flip that latch up, and then once you do that, we're gonna pull this out. But again, there's the adhesive under there, so we're gonna put a small drop of isopropyl alcohol there. And then again, we're gonna use the little thin tool here to try and get underneath wherever you can find a spot, and kind of just work your way under there. And this can be somewhat of a pain to get underneath. Slowly work your way. All right, just slowly working it. Come on. Almost there. Okay, we got the connector out, but the adhesive is still holding a little. And there we go. All right, yeah, and we can clean off the residue there. Okay. And what else do we got? So on this side, we have the same bunch of connectors. So let's go ahead and remove those. This side has the power cable connector here, the MagSafe 3, I believe it's called. Okay, so we're gonna get that out. Again, we're using the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay, now that we got those out, we'll take that metal plate out, set that aside. Oh, it's sticking to my finger. Okay. Then we're gonna flip this latch up, or the cable connector, whatever you want to call it. All right, this one has 2 USB-C ports, so there's 3 screws here holding this big metal plate down. So get those out. All right, let's get all 3 of these out. I'm almost done removing all the screws, and then I can show you the entire screw layout. There's a lot of screws here, so. Okay, and then we got these 2 connectors here, one for each USB-C port. Flip that. Okay, flip that. And we got these 2 here. This is for the headphone, headset jack. Remove those screws. And this side has way more connectors than the other. Remove that. All right, same thing, flip that latch up. So there's the latch here for the headphone jack. And if you want to remove the headphone jack, it looks like there's 1 screw here. That looks like a T5, okay? And then we got microphone. I'm pretty sure this is for a microphone. There's this little cable here. We need to peel that back. Okay, once you peel that, you can go ahead and flip that latch up and then carefully wiggle and pull that out. If it doesn't come out, we might have to use a tool to get underneath, like this. Use the pokey end to try and kind of get under and lift it a little. Maybe we need 2 of them. Let's see here. So get under there. Okay, try and get under there. There we go. There was some adhesive holding it. And then hopefully, now that we release that adhesive, we can hopefully get this. There we go. Okay, get that out. Now we got these 2 more screws down here. Okay, I'll remove that and this one. Also, if you're wondering, there's no removable RAM or SSD on this model. Okay, all the RAM, SSD, and everything is soldered to the logic board or motherboard. I'm pretty sure this is SSD memory. Okay. All right, I'm gonna switch on over back to the what do you call this thing again? The nut, I don't know, 4.0, whatever you want to call it, the hex bolt. And we'll remove that. And to screw these back in, usually it's very difficult to screw it in with using this tool because the piece can go all the way through. So usually I'll use the T3 bit that was in it, the screw that was in it, and then use that, tighten that into this, and then use the T3 to screw it down, at least to start it. And then once I get it started, I can use this tool to tighten it in. All right, so we got all those screws out. Let's go ahead and see now if we can lift the entire logic board up. You do want to be careful because these fan cables are there. Okay, and let's see what else. I think we got all the other connectors out. So let's zoom out here and then let me show you. Okay, so we're gonna try and just get underneath here from anywhere. You can go under from any side, wherever you can get a hold of it. You can also try and use this heatsink thing. You can see we can kind of lift it up from there using my fingernail. You do want to be careful. Okay, now that I got that up, I can kind of lift over here a little. Again, we're just going very slow because you don't know if anything is caught. You don't want to try and just rip it up and then end up breaking anything. So let me check the other side. There's nothing in the SATA port, nothing over there. Okay, let's see if we can lift from this side. You can see it's actually lifting here and the rubber pieces are hitting it. So, is there anything here we need to remove? Doesn't look like it. Can we lift from this side first? No. It's kind of caught on something. Trying to figure out what's holding this thing down. Oh, I almost forgot to lift this connector out. So we'll flip that latch up. Pretty sure that's for the speaker. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else here that we need to lift up. So most likely we're gonna have to start from the bottom here. So I'm gonna try and do that. Let's see. Oh, it's kind of tough. Maybe start over here. Okay, you can see we can lift this up slightly. You want to make sure, because all these cables are going to get caught on it, to push them aside as you're lifting. Okay, and I'm going to carefully get under here. Slowly, very slowly, pull these cables out of the way. And you can see we can slowly lift this up more. Looks like the rubber pieces are going to have to be held out of the way. And you can see we can pull the heatsink up. Very slowly, carefully lift this out. You want to make sure none of the cables are getting caught, because you don't want to end up tearing anything trying to lift this up. Okay, so move the rubber out of the way. Continue slowly lifting. Make sure again that nothing is caught underneath. Feels like something is caught. Oh, this rubber piece is getting caught on the heatsink. Okay, and then carefully continue lifting. Again, make sure no cables are getting caught, and we're gonna slide it out to the left here, right, because this gets caught in there. And there we go. We got the entire Logicboard motherboard out. So this is what that looks like underneath, and it actually looks okay. I don't see any coffee residue here. There's maybe a slight tinge of something there, but that's not going to harm anything. I'm going to use a very little bit of the isopropyl alcohol paper towel thing and clean that off. Give me a second. Let me get a tiny bit of alcohol on there. Alright, and we're just going to wipe that a little. Alright, and you can see that kind of residue went away a bit. And yeah, this thing is like so brand new. There's not really any dust or anything in here. It looks really good. Very slight tinge of dust. You can use a little air blower thing like this to clean it up. Okay, so we got that out. We got this completely set. All right, so if you're gonna set this down, you wanna be very careful. Also, if you've never worked on computers before, you probably know you're supposed to stay grounded or put this onto like something that's not gonna let static damage it. So I'm gonna have to set this aside real quick. Let me do that and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so I'm back. Let's go ahead and take a closer look here. So the fans can be removed. It looks like this is held down with some more adhesive here. So I'm probably not gonna pull it out because it does look to be okay. It looks like we're going to be using a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver to remove the screws. Okay, it looks like there's little rubber feet covering two of the screws. But anyways, let's go ahead and remove these just so we can kind of get a somewhat of a closer look here. Okay, pretty sure both sides are exactly the same. Let's see, this rubber piece should peel up. Looks like it's not easy to get this thing off. So if we take it out, it's going to be pretty noticeable that we took it out. I don't think we can just easily put this back on. Let's see, I'm going to use this to kind of push the adhesive away as I'm kind of pulling it up. Oh, let's see here. Okay, so I'll peel it off slightly. And we'll see, oh, that uses smaller screws. So underneath the little rubber feet, it looks like they switch over to T3 or Torx 3, and the outer ones they use T5. Okay, so we'll get that out. Also, those are skinnier, longer screws. Okay, let's go ahead and lift this one up and do the same thing. There we go. And remove the T3 from there as well. Okay, so now we got all four. You can see we can lift this up. And again, the adhesive is holding that down, so I don't think I want to take it completely out. But yeah, then that's pretty much it. There's not really anything under there. Obviously, you do need to lift that up to take out the 4 screws holding that down for the Touch ID button, okay? But we aren't going to be removing that, so we're going to leave this intact here. Again, if you do want to remove this, you would have to use some isopropyl alcohol to loosen this up, get underneath, and then peel that out. Maybe I'll just do one so you can kind of see, all right? Usually I don't want to take these out. Sometimes this stuff has like a black coating that comes out with isopropyl alcohol. Let's hope that's not the case with this one. Okay, so I'll put a little isopropyl alcohol in there. And I'll lift it up slightly and I'll kind of just work the isopropyl alcohol carefully underneath. Okay, just like this. Slowly working it under. Okay, and you have to be very patient with this. It's not gonna come out quickly. You just gotta go very slow. And the isopropyl alcohol will work its way under. You can see, all right, it's held down, it looks like, with 2 adhesive pieces. And come on, you're almost there. Here we go. All right, so now we can take the fan out. All right, you can see the adhesive there and there. All right, and usually I don't like to peel this up because it leaves these like gross adhesive residue trails on the pieces. So we'll clean that off. Okay, most of it came out, looks good. So I'm not gonna take out both fans, but that's what it looks like, all right? If you do need to replace your fans, keep in mind the left and right because it's upside down, so it's the opposite sides. Here you can see the speaker connector, like I mentioned, is there. Same thing with this side, another speaker cable. Okay, and the cable clips on from there and there. Speakers are held in with adhesive, so it's very difficult to remove these. You can kind of flood it with isopropyl alcohol and then you can probably pry it up slowly, but check if you can even get replacement speakers first. All right, here are the actual screws that you need to remove. There's 2 screws underneath here. They appear to be T5 that hold down the USB-C port, so if you need to remove that, that's there. Touch ID power button, if you replace this, I don't know if you can, but if you replace it, the Touch ID will definitely be disabled. But if you broke the power button, then at least the power button should work. Okay, I think I was right. This does look to be the keyboard backlight connector, and then the keyboard connector there. All right, this is the microphone connector like I thought. Then you got the headphone jack or headset jack, 2 T5 screws holding it down, one there and one there. Then you got the 2 USB-C ports. There's 4. Oh, they're actually separate. So it looks like you can remove each one separate. There's 2 screws on each. And then you have the MagSafe 3. But yeah, it looks like underneath here, it looks nice. I don't think the liquid got through. They said they spilled it on the right hand side of the speaker here and over here. And if you look here, there's no actual speaker here. The speaker's all the way down here. And the actual speaker mechanism for the bass is here. And then this is for the higher tones. And I don't know if you can see that if I angle it just right. You see that? That little square there? So that's where the actual speaker is. The rest is just design. And it's actually kind of a bad design because you see all that gunk that gets caught in there. I think that's dumb that they do that. Just keep the little square, right? I guess they want to make it look more uniform. And you can see that on this one too. All right, so I'm gonna just use a powerful electric air blower to kind of blow this out, try and make sure there's no like dried up stuff stuck in there. And then we should be good. I'll show you all the screw layout, what I have. But for now, let me dry this out or make sure to get all the dried up coffee stuff cleared away. All right, so I'll be back in a bit. See you guys soon. All right, I'm back. There is one other piece I want to remove. So I'm gonna see about removing the Touch ID power button here, just because the liquid did spill in that area. I want to make sure there's nothing trapped there. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be using the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. So let's go ahead and remove those 4 screws. Okay, let me check this real quick here. Okay, let's go ahead and remove the 4 screws. And we are very likely going to have to use some more isopropyl alcohol to loosen up the adhesive holding this little board down. Okay. All right, now we got those 4 screws out. Let's see if we can lift this up. I've never taken this one out before, so I'm not too sure how it's held in place. It looks like there's a rubber seal on this, which isn't on the other models, so that's interesting. Does this come out separately? Maybe this rubber seal comes out separately. I don't know if this is held on from adhesive or held on because of the spill. So I'm a little worried trying to peel this thing up, to be honest. And I'm not sure if I should, because it's not coming out easily. Okay, it looks like this rubber piece is held on with, I don't know, it might be liquid residue, it might be adhesive. I don't know if you can see. Let me zoom in here. Sorry, it's kind of difficult to get this piece out. It's held on with something. Usually on the other one there's 2 screws in the center holding the button onto the metal plate on the back here. But usually there isn't this rubber piece here, so. Okay, yeah. So here you can see this rubber piece here. I think it's actually held on with adhesive, and then we have 2 more screws hidden under here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove those 2 screws as well. Rubber piece is such a pain to deal with. All right. At least hopefully it helps prevent liquid from getting in. All right, so we got those 2 screws out, and you can see now this plate comes out, and this is what it looks like underneath. Okay, so you do have this part that aligns with the cable, so make sure you put it back right. Okay, and then we got this piece, like I said, it's held in with some adhesive. So we are going to go ahead and put a little isopropyl alcohol in there. All right, and then we're gonna have to use the little pokey tool or something to get underneath there again. All right, carefully work at it. You don't wanna go too quick, you don't wanna damage it. So we're gonna carefully work our way underneath. Just like that. All right, now that we got it started, we're gonna go to this side and kind of just work at it. And there we go. So now this should lift up, and then we're gonna let this drop through. Okay, so you can see it falls through there. Be careful. And there is the Touch ID power button. It looks to be clean, so I think we should be good. Hopefully you can see that. All right, looks good. So looks like luckily they are okay. Doesn't look like anything got completely fried or destroyed by the liquid. So now we just got to put this all back together, okay, and we should be good to go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this back in. You just gotta thread the cable through the bottom. This is gonna be a little tricky. And you gotta be very careful with this cable, because again, if you break this, you're gonna lose the Touch ID forever. Okay, so I'm gonna actually flip this over this way, and we're just gonna drop this in there and slowly work our way around. Okay, drop that in and then hold that in place. All right, if you want, you can put tape on the other side to help hold it. I'm gonna rotate it like this. Then we gotta get this lined up. Okay, if you want, you can put the 2 outer screws in first. So get this screw over here. I'm gonna just loosely fit it. I like to spin it backwards to make sure it goes in right. I can feel it didn't go in, so now we gotta realign this. There we go. And we're just loosely fitting it first, okay? All right, I twisted a little to hear it click, and then I know it's lined up. All right, now we got that. Let's go ahead and lift this rubber piece up again. Peel it out of the way. Then we're gonna get these 2 middle screws back in. These screws are wider, the tops, okay, so you don't mix up the other 4. Okay, I'm gonna loosely fit it first. And the reason why I'm loosely fitting it first is because I want to make sure it's all lined up properly. Okay. There we go. All right, so I just loosely fit it first. I didn't tighten them all down yet. I'm gonna get these screws in. So these screws that don't actually even hold the rubber piece down, so. Okay, we're just loosely fitting it. And the reason is, you can see how wobbly, oops, sorry. You can see how wobbly that is. Okay, we want to make sure that the power button is aligned before we tighten it down all the way. I think these 4 screws actually don't align it, so we can go ahead and tighten these 4 down. Like they don't actually tighten it down onto the board. The other 2 are the ones. So you can see, even with these tightened all the way, the power button can actually still wobble around a bit. Okay, so we're gonna try and line this up. Okay. Try and get it as close to the center as you can. There we go. Then we'll flip this back over. And we'll go ahead and lift the rubber piece back. If you want, you can actually stick down this piece again. Okay, now we gotta get under here. This rubber thing's kind of annoying. All right, peel that up and then tighten this down. And this one. All right. Then we'll flip it back over, check, make sure it looks aligned. Looks good. All right, and actually, oh, it's just the lighting, I think. I feel like it's a little bit off center, so I'm gonna peel it up and do it again. Loosen it a little bit. Okay. I wish there was something that you can like put on top to just have it all centered, because it likes to wiggle around a bit. Most people don't really pay that close attention to see if it's super centered. I don't know if even Apple installs it that centered, but for me it kind of bugs me if it's slightly off. So okay, that looks about right. Let's go ahead and tighten this down again, and hopefully it's not going to wiggle around. Okay, let's take a look. All right, that's probably as good as I'm going to get it. There you go. All right, let's flip this back over. Let me show you all the screws now. Okay, so I'm going to take this down and I'll show you the lineup or whatever you want to call it. All right, so here we go. You can see all those screws there. So we have the wireless antenna back there. Okay, I know, sorry, it's blurry. Then you got all of these from the side connectors on the left, the side connectors on the right. Obviously it's upside down, so if you flip it over, then the left and right are switched. There's a little screen connector there. We got this for the fans. You got the hinge covers, the hinge screws. You got the wireless antenna screws there. Stay focused, okay. You got these that go underneath this metal bar with the cable that goes on top. You got all of these. This is for the touchpad, okay. Then you got these two screws up here. Once I go to put them in, I'll know for sure where they come from. This is for the touchpad cable here, the bottom cover. This is for the motherboard, all the Logicboard screws, and then the two that were holding the little fan or heatsink parts down. And then these were all for the screen, these little metal plates. These 9 here, the 3 little ones, if it can focus. Those 9 little ones, sorry, those are for the wireless bar or wireless antenna. Okay, those 2 go over the screen connectors. And then these 2, 2 of them will go for these. 2 of them will go for the antenna itself. And then you got these outer ones for the antenna. All right, you'll see when we go to put them back in, but that's the layout of the screws. There's that, there's that. And then I have the logic board, obviously, which I showed you guys earlier. So let me put the camera back up and then we'll continue. All right, let's start putting this thing back together. First thing we're gonna do is put the fan back in. Okay, so make sure to line this up right. Here and here, okay. It's a little tricky. These rubber pieces kind of wedge up there. Okay, so make sure you get them in right. I'm gonna go ahead and get these in. Again, the 2 under here are T3, and then the 2 other ones are T5. So let's go ahead and get the T3 Torx 3 screws first. I'm gonna loosely fit the screw first because we wanna make sure everything is lined up properly. Okay. So loosely fit those. I'm gonna switch over to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver and loosely fit these. Okay, there we go. So now that's all in. I'm gonna pull the fan up into that. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and tighten that down. All right, switch over to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver and get these screws tightened in. And then push the adhesive back down. Push the adhesive back down. All right, so there we go. We got that all in. We can go ahead and stick that adhesive back down as well. Okay, next thing we got is the logic board. We're gonna have to put that back, so let me grab that. Okay. All right, so you want to be very careful with this. You can see if you need to redo the thermal paste, there are 4 screws here. Okay, those look to be T5 or Torx 5. These metal things will likely spring off and shoot away, so make sure that you're holding on to it, that it doesn't fly away. And then you can go ahead and pull this plate up. I'm not going to do that. This is a pretty much brand new computer, so yeah. All right, there's a little bit of residue here, so I'm going to clean that up real quick. Let me get some nice alcohol. Okay, there's a little residue there, so we're going to clean that off. It's actually making some weird smudgies there, so I don't know if we can get that out. We'll try and clean it up after we put this back in. Okay, so we got to tilt this back over, make sure these rubber pieces are pulled out of the way. So make sure all these connections are up. You want to make sure you don't accidentally smash any underneath, because if you forget them, you're going to have to pull everything back out, and that's going to be very annoying. Right, so we're going to slowly lower this down. As we're lowering it, make sure we got all the connections back on top. You got the fan connector or cable here. It's a lot easier to take it out than it is to put it back, because now you gotta like hold everything out of the way as you're lowering this down, okay? Which is a lot more tricky. So hold that out of the way, slowly lower this. Okay, make sure this goes down behind the fan. All right, make sure that cable ends up back on top, and this cable as well. Okay, this, make sure the battery cable also ends up back on top. Okay, so it helps to kind of look at what's here. So you got this cable here for the home button or power button, Touch ID. You got the USB-C port cable here, HDMI is built in. You got the speaker cable here, fan cable here. As we continue going down, these are for the screen. They're part of the screen, so they're not there. Keyboard cable there, keyboard backlight cable there. We do have to lift this and make sure this rubber piece goes behind. Okay, so make sure to get that out. Come on, get out. Stop trying to go back underneath there. Okay, so get that rubber piece out of the way. Slowly lowering it down. Okay, again, don't forget there's the fan connector here. Make sure none of the cables get shoved back underneath as you're lowering it down, because a lot of times the cables like to kind of fall back in if you lift the board a little too high. Okay, then we got all the cables on this side that we got to worry about. So we got the, let's use this tool, it makes it a little easier. So we got the MagSafe. You got the two USB-C ports here. Okay, so pull that back, pull that back. Might help to start from this side. We also got the other speaker cable here, microphone cable. It's getting caught on top of these. Get out, stop going under. Okay, there we go. And then we got the headphone jack here. See, these cables keep wanting to go back underneath, so it's kind of a pain. Safe connector. Stop going back underneath. Yeah, this being a pain. These cables keep going back underneath. Let me try going from this side, maybe. No. Let's go this side. Okay, there we go. Slowly lower it down. That guy back out. There we go. All right, and then before you start pushing all the connectors back in, you want to double check. Make sure you got all of them back on top. Okay, make sure everything's lined up. This battery connector is getting smushed. Okay. All right, so we're gonna check all the connectors again. We got the power button, Touch ID. You got this one. You got the speaker, fan, right? You got the keyboard and the touch or keyboard backlight, battery connector. Another fan connector here. You got the another speaker, you got the microphones, you got the headphone jack, USB-Cs, and then you got that one. This one is for in the screen as well. So now we got everything. Let's go ahead and start clipping them back down, and then we can go ahead and start reassembling. So first line this up. Can be somewhat of a pain. Okay, make sure that you have it lined up before pressing down. You don't want to press too hard and then end up breaking something trying to force it down when it's not lined up. Okay, get that lined up. Click that down. All right. Oh. There we go. USB-C port down. So let me try and make sure there's no dust getting caught under there. rubber stuff goes back up. Perfect. All right. Oops, sorry, am I going out of view? Got the speaker connection here. Make sure that's in. Perfect. All right. Fan connector here. Make sure the latch is up when you go to put this in, and then make sure you peel that off away from the connector. Get that lined up, pull that in, you slide your finger over it to latch it down. Don't try and like pry it down. Okay. We're gonna save the battery connector for later. Got the keyboard and the keyboard backlight connectors. Okay, so I'll get that, line that up, pull that in. Good. Slide your finger over to latch it down and put the adhesive, make sure the latch is up. Okay, pull that up. Looks good. And then slide your finger over to latch that down. Okay, we got the fan here, same thing, make sure the latch is up. Okay, all lined up. I know you can't really see because my hand's in the way, but hopefully you get the idea. Slide that in, slide your finger over the latch. You can also stick down the adhesive on the fan connectors. Okay, and these. All right, let's see, are we getting everything in view? We got the other speaker on this side. Okay, click that in. Microphone connector. Line that up. Slide that in. Okay. Good. Headphone or headset. Kind of got to push it back a little to get it to line up. Go. Click that down. If you want, you can use something like this to help if you can't push it down by hand. Just make sure you don't slip and cut the cables, okay? All right, we got that. USB-C port. Push that in. Okay, other one. Push that in. All right. And the MagSafe 3. Perfect. All right, we got all those connectors in. Now we can go ahead and screw on the little boards. So this is using the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay, so we'll get the metal plate, goes on top there. And with these, I always loosely screw them in, okay? So we'll loosely put the screw first. All right, get the second one. Now that it's in, you can see we can use that to help align it, and then we'll tighten in the second one. Try and keep it aligned, tighten it down, tighten the other one down. Okay, now we got the other one for the USB-C board. You can see there's a round side and a flat side. I don't know if I accidentally put it upside down, but I'm pretty sure the flat side goes against this flat side here. Okay, I don't think I flipped it upside down, but just in case. Okay, that one and this one. That's the kind of thing that since I record this, I can rewatch and I can see what it looked like before I took it out. I'm pretty sure it was this way, but if not, I'll take it back out and I'll fix it up afterwards. Okay. There we go. All right, now we got the one down here for the speaker. Like I said before, I like to use the screw here, and I'll screw that into this using the T3 or Torx 3. Okay, so now that I got that as one piece, I can use that to get this screw in. And this also is a motherboard screw, so you want to make sure that the motherboard, everything is lined up properly before you tighten that all the way down, because once you do that, it's going to be set in that place. Okay, So it looks good. So we're going to tighten this. All right, and then we're going to unscrew the little screw there. And now we'll switch over to the T4. Well, actually, let's go ahead and do this side as well, just so we have them both done at the same time and I don't have to worry about doing it a second time. What happened to the other bolt? I'm missing this one. Where did it go? How did one of those... For some reason I'm missing the other one here. Is it stuck in a magnet or something somewhere? No? Where did I put it? I might have to go hunting for that screw. I don't know where it is. It's not with the other one for some reason. Okay, well, let's bolt this one back in first and then we'll figure it out afterwards. Okay, so, oh, I have it. Okay, sorry. So we'll go ahead and tighten this one first. I moved it to be next to the other one. Okay, so I think what I did was I grabbed the one from the other side. So let me put this one back here. Yeah, I mixed them up. I was using the one from this side, from the right side, and I put it on the left side. Okay. I was like, how did it move? All right, so let's do this again. All right, so same thing, use the T3, Torx 3-in-1. Good thing I didn't tighten it down. All right, so get that one in. Then I'll hold this so it doesn't spin and take the little screw out. And we'll switch back over to the 4 and just make sure it's tight. Don't tighten too much. You don't want to crack the motherboard, okay? There's that. Now we're going to go ahead and do the other side. Get out of my way. Okay. Now we're going to do this side. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. Get that one in. Same thing. Start it from spinning and then take it out. Alright, we'll switch back over to this one. This is the last time we'll need this. And then we'll set that aside or put that away. Switch back over to the T3, Torx 3. And let's get this metal plate in. It's a little tricky to line this up. There we go. This one in. Okay, tighten that down. Line that up and get this centered and then tighten that down. There we go. Done. All right, let's go to the other side. Get all those metal plates in. Let's zoom out a bit here. There's a lot. All right, so we can do this vertical one here. Loosely fit it. Get the second one. That lined up and loosely fit that. Tighten that all the way down and tighten this all the way down. Okay, I'll get the 3 one. Line loosely fit that. Next one, loosely fit that. And the last one. Make sure it's all lined up and tighten it down. Okay, tighten this down and tighten that down. There we go. Get this one. Line it up. Loosely fit it. Get the second one. Make sure everything's lined up. And tighten that down. Alright, and then tighten this down. There we go. It's not quite centered, so I'm gonna loosen it a little bit, move it a little, and tighten it. There we go. Got the last little metal plate here. Get this one in. This one in. Line that up and tighten that down. There we go. All right, next we got to put the screen back in. So we'll flip this back over this way. Let's zoom out here. You can see a little bit more. Okay, let's grab the screen. Okay, so the screen, make sure the hinges are open all the way. We'll lift this up and we'll drop that into place. Okay, you might have to wiggle it around to get it to fall into place, right? Come on. The left side went in just fine, but this side's struggling. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. So you kind of have to tilt it a little to get it to go in. And now we have it all lined up. All right, let's go ahead and switch on over to the was it T7 or T9? T9 screws. Okay, and we're gonna get these in. Make sure that when you're screwing these in, they should go in easily. That goes for all the screws. Because if they're difficult to screw in, that means you're putting them at a wrong angle or you're stripping the screws. So you want to be very careful there. Okay. Okay, last one here. All right, now that we got those in, I'm gonna close up the screen. So we're gonna slowly, carefully close that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen these. And then we can line these up. You can see it can kind of wiggle a bit. So you wanna make sure that it's flush back here, okay? And the gap along in between both the hinge and the screen on both sides are even. It's not too important to do that, but I mean, you're doing this, so why not do it perfect, okay? Alright, now we'll tighten this guy down here, and we'll tighten this guy down here. Alright, now that we've got both sides, we can go ahead and tighten the rest. Go. rotate this back over. Okay, zoom in. Now we got these pieces that we're gonna have to put back, so we'll put these back in, line them back up, and then just push them back into the holes. That one and this one. Okay, make sure when you push the excess slack that it goes underneath those things. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna push the excess slack underneath like that, and then it goes on top. Same thing with this. Here we go. Okay. And this has to go on top. And the excess slack from here also goes underneath there, or pinched in between the motherboard. All right, we'll get this lined up. Push that in. Good. Same thing with this side. Alright, we have the antennas here, so these are going to go on top, but first we do need to put these hinge screw covers back in. Okay, so get that lined up first. Alright, and same with the other side. Go. All right, we're done with the T9. Switch back over to the T3 and get the little hinge, these thingies back in first. And loosely fit the first one, then go to the second one. Am I using the wrong size screwdriver? Oops, sorry, we need the T5 or Torx 5 for that. And I'm gonna actually loosely fit these because we're gonna put the wireless antenna board or the wireless antennas after. Get this in. One. Got caught. Come out. There we go. Okay, now that those are loosely in, let's get the wireless antenna board or the wireless antennas in. So just slowly, carefully drop this in. Okay, we're gonna put these, you got the long screws on the outside here, one here, and the other one over here. There we go. All right. Then we have, let's see here. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then we got this one here. I like to pull this inwards a little. Okay, so that way when the screw goes in, it's seated properly. One here. This one here. And here. Okay, we can now tighten these. Those two, and then these two. Okay. All right, let's get the wireless antennas reconnected here. So let's zoom in. So the way you get these, you want to just line it up. You'll know it's hooked on or it's lined up right because the connector will catch on there. So if you see if it's on, it's like not wiggling around, then you can go ahead and click it down, right? Once you have it in the right place. If it's in the wrong place, you can see it still moves. All right, and you want to be careful because these cables are pretty fragile. If you try and push it down when it's not lined up, you can bend things, so be very careful. Okay, make sure it's lined up, and then it's difficult to get these thingies because they're all bent a certain way, the cable. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, now we got those. Let's go ahead and switch back to the T3 or Torx 3 and get this on. Okay. Up, tighten it down. All right, one more here for the antennas themselves. Good. All right, now we got the ones for these connectors here. Don't forget those. So get this on here. Loosely fit it first. Get the second one, line it up, and then tighten that down. Good. And good. All right. Go on the other side. We'll get that one in. Make sure that's all lined up. And get this one in. Perfect and perfect. All right, now we're gonna switch on over to the P2 or Pentalobe 0.8 and we'll get the 9 antenna screws in. Okay, don't twist these too tight because the screws are really small and you can break your screwdriver and the screw really easily usually on these. Okay, let's move to the center. Okay, last 3. go. Okay, then we got the little sensor thing here that we gotta put back. Same thing, using the P2 or Pentalobe 0.8. Oh, that screw doesn't stick very well. This one's being a little tricky. Come on. Line that up. Come on, stay in place. Go. Okay. And reconnect this. Okay, we're done with that. Done with that P2 screwdriver. We shouldn't need that anymore. Back to the T3 or Torx 3. Get this screw in there. Okay, line that up. That in. That in. Alright, what else do we got here? We got the, okay. Gonna switch back over. Now we're gonna switch over to the T6 or Torx 6. There's two. One screw here holding the fan over here, the heat sink. Perfect. And then the other side, same thing. Alright, we're done with the T6. We're going to use the T5 now and get all the motherboard or logic board screws in. The reason why they call it a logic board is because they don't have like separate boards that connect to it. So normally they would call it like motherboard, daughter board, and stuff like that. But since this doesn't have any daughter boards, then they call it a logic board now because everything is all connected on that single board. All right. Alright, now we got the two in the middle here. Make sure you're not screwing it down on top of the little adhesive thing of the fan. So when you get low enough, you can actually move that out of the way. Okay, this one already went out of the way on its own. All right, then we got the two on either side here of these clips. I think I just got a call for more work, so I need to pause for a bit again. Let's get the last two screws here. Almost done. All right, give me a second. I'll be back again. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead now and put back the touchpad. So carefully open this up. All right, give me a second here. Let's go ahead and grab this. We're gonna have to thread the connector through the bottom here. Okay, slowly, carefully lift the touchpad up. Okay, hold that into place, and then we're going to get the T5 or Torx 5 screws in. To start, you only actually need to get in the 2 corner ones, so we'll get in one over here, and then we'll do an opposite corner one. All right, down here. So right now I'm still holding the touchpad in place. Once we get those 2, and you only want it loose because you can see how wobbly it is. So we'll now let the thing down, and we'll get the rest of the screws in. We're not going to tighten them up yet because we do want to make sure that it's lined up. So we're just going to loosely fit them first. Okay. Loosely fit all these screws in. Just like this. Go. And last one here. All right, so now we got all of those. We're gonna go ahead and flip the entire thing over. Be careful with that connector. I'm gonna hold that in place. Okay, we're gonna now carefully open this up. And now what we want to do is make sure you can see how much wiggling that does. So we want to get this lined up. So I'll just get pieces of tape here. Okay. All right. We'll grab 2 pieces of tape. You can use any kind of tape for this. So I'm gonna fold over a piece here so it can be peeled up easily. And we're gonna stick it over there, and the other one. Fold it over and stick it over here. So we're gonna find the center here. Okay, and then just line it up. Make sure that's centered. And then we're gonna stick that down. Okay, just like that, and stick this down. Right, then you gotta look from the top, make sure it looks even. Looks pretty good. We're gonna now close this, flip this back over. Of course, doing this whole thing, you wanna be very careful you don't push on the speakers there, if that wasn't obvious already. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and tighten this down, tighten this down. Right, we're going from the corners first just to make sure everything's lined up. Good. All right, we can go ahead and flip it back, open, double check, make sure everything looks good. Okay, I think that's good. We can go ahead now and peel off the tape. There we go. Close this back up. And then we'll just tighten all the touchpad screws down. And then to power this up back up, you're gonna have to use a USB-C or MagSafe 3 connector. It won't turn on until you give it power, even if the battery has power, so keep that in mind. All right, now we got that. We're gonna lift the touchpad cable back up. We're gonna get this T5 or Torx 5 screw back in. This is for the battery. Okay. Without this and the cable here, the MacBook won't work, so keep that in mind. All right, so we got that. I'm going to go ahead and stick that back down. Then we're going to make sure that latches up, and we're going to get this cable in. It's a little bit difficult to do this in camera, but you've seen all the other ones, so you get the idea. Make sure that connector isn't stuck with the tape on top, and then line that up, pull that in, make sure it's in all the way, slide your finger over, and yeah, the way you know it's in all the way, let me see if I can show this close up. You can see a little bit of the gold coming out, but you don't want too much of it sticking out. All right, so get that back down, then the touchpad cable, line that up, click that back in. Right, now that you got that, we're just gonna push the adhesive back into place. All right, and then we got this little connector. Line that all back up. Switching back over to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. And we'll get this back in. The nice thing with putting all the screws in those patterns is you'll know if you're missing any screws or if you didn't put one in the right place. So I have no more screws left except for the bottom cover ones. So that means we did everything right. All right, take that down. All right, and there we go. Now we just got to put the bottom cover back on. Usually I would test the MacBook first, like flip it over, power it on. Again, you do have to plug it in before it will power it on. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and put it all back together. I'm cleaning off the dust from this bottom panel, just using a toothbrush and loosening it and then blowing the dust away. All right, so we're gonna get this in. The way you get this in, again, this has hooks on it that hook into the air vents. So you start with it further back here, make sure the edges on the side here are lined up, and then you slide it up. Okay, so make sure the edges are lined up, and then, oops, it's moving around, slide it up, slide that up, all right? And make sure it looks like it's all flat in place, everything looks good. Okay, once you make sure everything looks good and flat and flush, you can go ahead and click those sides down, click the middles in, and there we go. Then we're going to switch back over to the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2, and we'll get the last screws in. Again, the longer ones go to the back where the hinges are, and then the shorter ones go towards the front where the opening of the MacBook are. All right, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, remember to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. I do these repairs for a living, and if you notice I haven't been putting up a lot of videos, that's because I'm not getting a lot of work lately. Might be partially because I'm showing people how to fix their own devices. So again, if this helps you a lot, please consider contributing a little to the channel. And if you can't, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. YouTube has also been paying me less as well, so the more you guys can help out, the better. And yeah, all right, so let's get the last few screws in and then we'll go ahead and power this thing up. All right, so we're done with that. Let's flip this guy back over. And again, it's not gonna turn on until I plug it in. So I push the power button, nothing's happening. Let's see if I can power it up with my little USB battery power bank. All right, so I have this little USB one. It might be, okay, it might be a little too wide. So I'm gonna put something underneath just to prop it up. And then we'll get this in there and let's see. Okay, and it's powering on. The touchpad isn't clicking for some reason, so I don't know. We'll see. I can unplug this now. It should stay on. And let's see. Hopefully it's just booting up. Okay, yeah, now it's clicking. All right, so there we go. I'm gonna have to cover this because it has their user information. But there you go. So it's working now. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if it did, like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others. Watch a few of my other videos, like, comment on those, and I'll see you on the next one. Let's drop this. Bye.